this concept of let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. We already know what's happening. Like we have enough data points to know what's happening. The cool thing about business is it's very linear. It's not, oh, wow, I can't believe X occurred. It's like, no, A, B, C, D. We know E is almost 99.99 times out of 100 going to come next. So let's do this because we really do understand what's occurring. It's not some black box of magic. And not doing anything, not making decisions, that's probably one of the biggest challenges, misconceptions I've seen is because you don't want to make the wrong decision, you don't make any decision, which is a very bad strategy.
Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani. Today we have with us Drew Lyon. Drew founded Focused Energy to help businesses succeed by providing financial and operational support. Recognized as the top 25 young professionals of 2020, Drew is considered a trailblazer in financial data. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
It's my pleasure, my friend. How did you become interested in financial strategies?
It's a two-pronged approach here. I'd say the first was I was studied finance and accounting, came out of college, tried to do financial advising, personal financial advising. Good idea, probably not the thing for me. I was working for a large corporation in Colorado. It was a utility. And I was like doing all the material analytics, like how do we design something, purchase materials and install it? And it's like a mile of high voltage line costs $2 million. So it's like extremely expensive. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. And as I was doing the analytics, I found 1 + 1 did not equal 10. Everyone kept reporting 10 and discovered this large fraud, reported it, told to cover it up.
Wow.
The SVP of this public company, and we got the corporate BS line of, oh yeah, that's a problem. We're definitely going to fix that. We care. And I was like, this is just complete bullshit. No one cares here. Like everyone was just like, do as little as they could to get it over the line. And I just realized corporate wasn't for me. The other thing is I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. Half my family, very successful. The other half learned all the struggles that comes with being an entrepreneur. And I was in the latter half. And so learned a lot of what not to do. And at that point, when I reported this fraud, I realized it was a kind of a turning point in my life. And I chose to go into helping entrepreneurs make better decisions with the financial information they have and simple accounting, finance, strategy, cash flow, not just splitting atoms here. And from there, we grew it. And I just realized there's a better way to do finance, accounting, operations, bringing those pieces together to say where you're going and how you're going to get there. And the fascinating thing to me now, after doing it for hundreds of businesses for over a decade, most businesses have the same problems. It doesn't matter whether you're designing rocket ships or making fidget spinners. Like it's the same core issues. And good financial strategies, like it's just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but it's not that geometrically complex.
Because once you know the structure of this, especially when you experience it with so many businesses, they gave you that reality. You know what? At the end of the day, it's all the same.
And I think the thing that I really learned the most was entrepreneuring is great. It's awesome. But like mass media has blown up into be this thing where everyone's, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you don't. It's brutal. It's like it's constant self-doubt. You have everybody's expectations to have an answer on you. And you're like, I don't know. You live in constant, like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you're asking and answering questions that you don't know. And it's just a very fascinating thing. And surrounding yourself with people who can help. And there's a lot of people that can help. And I've just realized doing business well doesn't mean hire a bunch of people and have a huge ego. It's there's so many resources that you can hire like fractionally now and just make so much further better gains and put more capital towards revenue generating activities than business overhead and hiring a lot of employees and having very senior staff run a business, don't play business.
Yeah, and that's what I always preach as well about mindset, having the proper foundation to handle entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah.
Because you need a strong inner world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that confidence, and
you have to create it if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Or
And you got to just believe in yourself and know that like it's darkest before the dawn, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah. Keep going. And if you don't have the belief, you get help to help you instill that belief, because without belief, that's why people just give up.
Yeah. And it's
on this journey.
But I think that's another thing. And that's what I realized about like with when you look at accounting, finance, you look at the numbers, you look at the financial data, understanding where you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. There's always a way to get to the place you want to be, but there's also realities. Like, do you have enough capital? Can you get capital? Do you have product market fit? Can you figure out how to get product market fit if you don't? Do you have a market? I think those.
But the starting point,
yeah,
the starting point would be belief, though, because if you didn't have belief, they wouldn't even try.
Oh yeah, no, starting something like it's all about passion, and it's got to be something, in my opinion, more than money. You can't just be like, I want to be super rich. No, you got to have a passion. I want to fix this, or I want to do this better, or 100%.
Yeah. Can you share any common misconceptions through the history of you working with so many businesses when it comes to financial strategies?
I think not a big one is this like concept of let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. We already know what's happening. Like we have enough data points to know what's happening. The cool thing about business is it's very linear. It's not, oh wow, I can't believe X occurred. It's like, no, A, B, C, D. We know E is almost 99.999 times out of 100 going to come next. So let's do this because we really do understand what's occurring. It's not some black box of magic. And not doing anything, not making decisions, that's probably one of the biggest like challenges, misconceptions I've seen is it's because you don't want to make the wrong decision, you don't make any decision, which is a very bad strategy. The other misconception is probably thinking revenue is the same thing as cash. And they're two vastly different things. And I was talking to a venture capitalist the other day, and I said, what are the 4 biggest things you're really looking for out of your CEOs in the boardroom? And it was actually really good. It was like on the fly. It was like the last minute of our like coffee. And he's like unit economics. And I don't know how they make money and really where they make money. And then the next thing he's thinking, he's pondering, and he's rubbing his chin, and he's like cash flow. It's not statement of cash flow, but the elements of net working capital. What levers can you pull that are going to shift your business's cash situation? What are your terms on paying vendors? What are your terms with customers on getting paid? How are you repaying debt? And it was understanding how your cash flows, moves, and interacts in your business in and out is one of the greatest misconceptions I've ever seen. And it causes the greatest issue in any business, because the great analogy is if a car doesn't have gas in the engine or gas tank, it can't go forward. So if a business doesn't have cash in the bank, it can't operate. And so you always have to have cash. And knowing how to preserve or make more cash or move cash in faster, that is one of the biggest keys to success.
That's the key focus right there. So can you share an example of a financial work that you have done for a business that had a significant impact, basically on their success or failure? Any kind of example that could help?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I'd say
something that comes to mind.
Yeah, I'd say it was a food business. And when we took over, we looked at the chart of accounts that they had, and they put a lot of their cost of goods sold, the old accountant put a lot of the cost of goods sold down in operating expenses. So business owner kept saying, we're making money on every unit we sell. And I was like, and it was the first time I'd seen the financials without any real detail, just monthly P&L and balance sheet. And I was like, something's wrong though. Like, you wouldn't be losing this much money. And as we dug in, we really found out that this other accountant, I have no idea why, but like half of the cost of goods sold, they'd put down in the operating expenses. So we moved all the cost of goods sold up to where they needed to be so that we understood you're selling for 5, it costs you 4, you make 1 now. Previously, it was because they thought they were making money and everything. They're like, you were only selling for $3.50. You thought you were making 50 cents on every single unit. And the challenge with that was we had to go back to the customers and renegotiate the contracts. Say, look, we either don't sell you anything and we shut the business down, or because they were in like 2,000 stores. And so it was not a fun conversation nor a fun activity to have to go back to customers.
But it worked out.
Hey, we got to, that was like, accounting's boring.
Cool.
And no one gives a shit about accounting. But people only care about accounting when it's not right. And this was one of those things of just not knowing and not having the right advice. Another one was, it was a like $2 million ARR SaaS business. And we looked at it and we're like, great, you're booking X, but your revenue are just staying right level all the time. You keep booking though. And so you're selling well, but then you fill a bucket up with water, it's got a hole in the bottom. Yeah, you're not going to have too much water in that bucket. And so we realized, hey, there's a churn issue. But there was this emotional capitulation that hadn't yet happened of saying, oh, no, you do have a churn issue. And they hadn't accepted it. They're like, no, we don't. It happens to a lot of businesses where it's just this blind spot. And it was really related to product market fit. They hadn't gone and talked to their customers enough and understood how the customers were using the product, the value they derived from it. And so they had an unnecessarily high churn. And I think it was at like 20% per annum. And just by looking at it, we put measures in place to measure and report on it, broke down the customers by cohort. We were able to get it from 20% down to 5%, which ended up equating to like something like $1.5 million in extra revenue retained per year just by paying attention to the right things. And it was just the CS team. Their attention was put towards, hey, we got to manage the customers, talk to them. Here are the ones that are giving us leading indicators they may churn. Go reach out, see what's up. And so just using data effectively to understand how can we positively impact the business. Let's see. Yeah, no, there's a lot. Like it's just using financial information intelligently.
Making sure to be able to read the data accurately.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
How about artificial intelligence? Has it impacted the landscape?
It has, and it will to a much greater degree. I won't have a job.
Interesting.
Soon. Like my job will go away to a large extent.
Are you launching a startup then?
I'm not. I've realized the value I provide is not necessarily the value we provide as a company. Yeah, we do the accounting, we do the finance, but a lot of it is having conversations with business owners. If someone tells you, stop putting your hand on the stove, it's hot, and you're going to keep doing it, you need, for some reason, even though you know you're getting burned every time you do it, you need someone there to be like, stop doing that. You're burning your hand. And that could be AI will tell you, hey, the stove's hot. It's 700 degrees right now. But for some reason, you keep doing it. So what we really help is with this, like, understanding the information, guiding the companies, that strategy. That'll also get replaced eventually. But what's AI's impact in accounting and finance, once we get a greater degree of standardization in how we understand financials and how AI is using that information to automate to a great degree where things are coded and how that data is understood. Some people might say, hey, if you have Google and it's a software, or some might call it dues and subscriptions, or some might call it online services, or some may call it an office expense. It's just, the problem is we haven't yet got to the point where it's all consolidated. It's like, it doesn't really matter where you put it. In the chart of accounts, though, it needs to be an operating expense. It's G&A. Great if you want to put it somewhere else within there, but like AI automating that to a greater degree, they've gotten close, but it's still an imperfect science. That once that
they'll get there,
it'll like really move things very quickly.
Wow.
That and tax filings, like it's going to disrupt.
It's going to change everything.
Yeah. And
it's going to automate so much.
Yeah. But I think people are afraid of it for some reason. It's like, you might have to learn
Yeah,
something new.
not.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this technology, artificial intelligence, is going to make our life so much more easier as human being, where we can bring out the innate energy that we have within to do bigger things with our time. That's what I feel.
Think about some of the greatest moments in history. Like if you look at over time, like creativity, it hasn't been like the application of a thing. It's been, how did we have the genesis of thought to create it? Like fundamental truths within almost anything, like the invention of a weaving loom, or the invention of,
Yeah.
Pythagoras' theorem, or like it's that ability to have the time
Yeah.
to put
To
creative
imagine.
thought towards those activities. And I think that's what's going to,
Yeah.
people haven't yet conceptualized how
Yes.
that's going to create so much. And I think
Yeah.
we're still really a few decades away, a couple decades away from novel creative thought from a like machine being able to create something. So
Yeah.
there's all this time that like I think it'll give
Yeah.
us, that will enable us to think creatively, to invent new things that no one even thought were possible. Just say it's wild, the pace of invention these days.
Yeah. I definitely relate to your train of thought there, because I feel that artificial intelligence will give us more time. We'll have abilities to earn more money with ease. We'll have time to spend more time in that power of our imagination. Everything is created twice, right? In imagination than in the physical. So imagine we having more time to spend in our imagination, what we are going to create. I think the creation in our world will amplify tenfolds, and we'll see more and more people being established financially with this technology. I think it's
Yeah,
going to improve the quality of human life.
what's cool is like in almost every, like I love reading sci-fi books. I'll get on the exercise bike and sit there for an hour and just blast through books. And one thing that's wild to me is, if you look back in history when something was conceived of and thought crazy, like was it Back to the Future had this
Yeah.
thing where they got on like the payphone and there was a video box and people
Yeah.
were like, oh, man, it's gonna be
Flying
like
cars.
flying cars. Like they just approved like a $300,000
Yeah.
for
Yep.
testing like the other day. When
Yes.
we think
I saw
about
that.
something, it's like wild how it's that preconceived, that self-fulfilling prophecy where we're like, we should do this, and then like people create it. It's an insane reality.
Yeah.
And I think moving beyond the concept of needing financial means, like there's always going to be a need of
Yeah.
transaction.
Yeah.
But I think when we realize there's so much, so much raw material out there that like we
Yeah.
have such an imbalance in it. I think it'll create a greater degree of balance,
Yeah.
so that
I agree.
people can not be trying to just survive. They can be living and create.
Yeah, it's good that we chatted about this, because I come across, like you mentioned, a lot of people being afraid of it. Who knows who's right and who's wrong? It's nothing like that. It's just everyone's opinions. But I do agree. I think it's going to amplify the quality of human beings' lives. I'm excited. I'm very much excited for it. What are some of the most common mistakes that companies are making in terms of their financial strategy?
Hubris. We're definitely going to sell. We're going to go from 0 to 10 million units this year. No, you're not. Or we're going to treble the business, and all we're going to do is invest 5% more in sales and marketing. It's this belief that it's going to go so much faster. And it's all really connected. It's a single thread of that hubris, that overexuberance and overconfidence that you figured out something that tens of millions of others haven't. It's not to denigrate this, but it's to really say, you're not that smart, and that's okay. But you haven't figured out something that all these other people that put years in haven't. So like, it takes a while. You have to invest a lot before you start to see an increase in sales. And it's always slower than you want, and it takes more time. So it's like being very grounded and realistic, not like conservative, but realistic, or having multiple scenarios. I think another one is, especially for actually any stage business where they have a friend in the business or family members, there's always a lot of elements of like why you can't make a decision. We're going to see him at a family barbecue, or, oh, I've known Jim Bob for 30 years.
Oh, the relationship.
If you keep poor performing individuals in the business, other people on the team see that. And that one individual can drag everyone else's performance down to like lowest common denominator.
It happens a lot, though.
It's a ton. And they just can't make the decision to fire those people. Yeah. But I've realized the devil you don't know is always 10 times better than the devil you know. I couldn't imagine getting rid of this person. That's going to get rid of them. And yeah, it might be a little rough for a couple months, but it's always do it. Better. And then not asking questions that, people will be great at telling themselves stories. The best lies you tell are the ones you tell yourself. And you're like, oh no, our customers love our product or our service. Have you asked them? Have you asked them deliberately? Have you asked them repeatedly? People don't want to ask the questions they don't want the answers to. But that's where the magic is. That's where the proof's in the pudding. Go talk to your customers, talk to your staff. Oh, staff aren't that engaged. Well, it's probably because somebody on the team's a yeller or is a megalomaniac or is an asshole. And you just haven't asked the staff, hey, what's going on? How's it working? What could we do better? They'll tell you. There has to be trust, though. It's really just talking to your customers and your staff, getting honest, direct, transparent feedback. And be okay with getting an answer you don't want. That's what you should actually be going for. Find out why they don't like it, the product, or find out why they're not engaged at work. Like it's not a one-person band. Like you have to have a group of people to make progress. I think those are the biggest things I've seen is, and then not knowing
appreciate that
cash flow.
Definitely, cash flow is a big one. Drew, can you share with us what you feel your innermost superpower is that got you to this point in life?
It's a combination of like really wanting to help people and not giving a shit what other people think of me. And by combining those
confidence,
it's some people say I am confident. I don't think I'm confident. I've put in over a decade of 80 plus hours a week, every week, like hard work. Like I've worked my ass off on looking at businesses like all day. Like I live, breathe, eat, sleep. Some people are like, gee, that's a lot. Like, yeah, I just love it though. I love seeing what businesses can do.
It's not work for you, it's love.
Yeah. And it's, maybe confidence, but it's hard won knowledge and experience. And I think what I've seen is it's that belief, to go back to your earlier part of belief that good things can come from businesses. And when you bring good people together to create a business, positive impact in the community is almost sure to happen.
You're leading with value. It has a tremendous force to it. Great, Drew. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on our show today and share what you shared. If there's any final words, please go ahead.
I just want to say thanks for having me on. And if anyone needs any help with their finance accounting and you're looking for support, come check us out at focusedenergy.work. And we'd love to have a conversation.
Thank you so much, audience. Thanks again for joining us for another episode. Appreciate you guys very much.